Hello, my wonderful students. Welcome to another interesting topic. Make sure you have your note and pen to jot down the important points. Remove every form of distraction and listen attentively. Sit back and enjoy the class. In today's lesson, we are going to study the topic Theory of Supply 2 and Theory of Supply 3. Lesson objectives. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to state the factors affecting supply, explain the types of supply, define exceptional supply and exceptional supply curve, state the causes of exceptional supply, explain change in supply and change in quantity supplied, and define equilibrium. Factors affecting supply. The following are factors affecting supply. 1. Cost of production. When the cost of materials, factors of production increases, that is, the cost of production is high, production will be affected, which will lead to a fall in supply. When the cost of production is low, supply will increase since the producers will have more money for production. When the cost of labor and raw materials are high, there is reduction in the profit of producers, and this makes them to reduce output and supply less to the market. 2. Price of the product. The price of the product is positively or directly related to the quantity of the product that the producers or sellers are willing and able to offer for sale. When price is high, the quantity of goods supply will increase, and when price is low, the quantity of goods supply will decrease. 3. Level of technology. This is the most important factor that affects supply. A change in the technique of production, like using modern technique of production, installation of a very large modern machine, and a better organized system will result to a very large quantity. This will lead to increase in supply, and when there is no improvement in production techniques, supply will remain low. 4. The number of producers in the market. The greater the number of producers of a product in the market, the higher the supply of the product to the market, and the fewer the number of producers of a product in the market, the smaller the supply of the product to the market. 5. Government policy. Governments can make law against the production of some goods, place ban on the importation of some goods, impose taxes in form of excise duties and tariff on some products. This action reduces profit of both producers and sellers. Hence, they are discouraged, and this leads to low output and quantity supply. However, if government introduces subsidy, leave ban on restriction of goods, involve in mass importation, reduce excise and tariff, etc., cost of production will be reduced. Producers will have more profit, and supply will definitely increase. This is what suppliers need. Weather conditions. Climatic conditions could be favorable or unfavorable for the production of certain goods. If the weather of a particular area is favorable at a particular period, more agricultural products will be produced, and their supply to the market will increase. Also, if the weather is unfavorable to some products, small quantity will be produced and supply will reduce. For example, more umbrellas are produced and supplied during rainy season. More ice cream and products are produced and supplied during dry season. 7. Level of income. Level of income in a society affects the rate of supply to either increase or decrease. The higher the level of income in a society, the higher the level of demand for almost all goods and services. This encourages producers to increase production and supply more to the market. Also, the lower the level of income in a society, the lower the level of demand, and this discourages producers and they supply less to the market. 8. Natural conditions. Drought, flood, diseases affect the supply, especially of agricultural products. During drought, the availability of this product declines. Some crops are climate sensitive, and their growth is slowly dependent on weather conditions. Period of festivals. In period of festival, sales increases dramatically in almost all retail areas. More commodities are demanded and supplied during festivals like Christmas, Easter, Ramadan, etc. Christmas is significant because it is typically a peak selling season for retailers and producers in many nations around the world. Sales increased dramatically as people purchase gifts, decorations, etc. Types of supply. Joint or complementary supply. This occurs when two or more commodities are produced and supplied from one source. Increase in the demand, production, and supply of one will bring about increase in the production and supply of the other commodities that are produced from the same source. For example, an increase in the supply of petroleum and supply of petrol from petroleum can also lead to increase in supply of kerosene. Also, increase in the demand, production, and supply of palm oil will result in increase in the production and supply of palm kernel brooms, which are produced from the same palm trees. 2. Composite supply. When a particular commodity can serve two or more purposes, it is said to be in composite supply. In other words, the supply of the commodity for one purpose will greatly affect the supply of the same commodity for another purpose. 3. Competitive supply. Supply is said to be competitive when many commodities are supplied for a satisfaction of a particular want. These different goods that are required to satisfy this particular want are said to be in competitive supply. For example, meat and fish, butter, margarine, etc. Exceptional or abnormal supply and curve. Exceptional or abnormal supplies are supply patterns which do not abide by the laws of supply and therefore give rise to the reverse of the basic laws of supply. A normal supply curve slopes upwards from left to right, showing that at a higher price, more of a commodity will be supplied. But an abnormal supply curve does not follow this rule. An abnormal supply curve is also called a regressive or backward sloping supply curve. It does not slope upwards continuously from right to left. This shows that at a higher price, less quantities will be supplied. This is a negative situation in which a fall in the price of a commodity leads to an expansion of its supply. This is shown in the diagram. An abnormal supply is sloped downwards from left to right. Causes of abnormal supply. 1. Existence of some fixed assets. Land is a fixed asset. With time, the price of land increases without a corresponding increase in its size. This situation can lead to abnormal supply. This is also an example of fixed supply curve or zero elastic or perfectly inelastic supply curve. This is illustrated in the diagram. In the diagram, price increases from 50 to 55 to 60, but quantity supplied remain constant at 30. 2. Desire to earn more money. When wages per hour are low, the employees will want to work for hours in order to earn more money so as to take care of their numerous needs and wants. This is an exception to the law of supply because they are supplying or working for more hours at reduced or low wages. This is shown in the diagram. When price is 5, hours worked was 2, and when price increased to 20, hours worked was 4. 3. Individual value for leisure. When the wages per hour worked is high, there is tendency for an employee to work less hours in order to have more time for his leisure. In other words, they tend to work for shorter hours if wages are high in order to have more time. Storage facilities. Inadequate storage facilities can also make producers to increase supply of certain agricultural products or crops at low prices. This is to avoid the crops from being destroyed or damaged since they are perishable. Change or shift in supply. There is a change in supply if the supply curve shifts to an entirely new position. In this case, this is a completely new supply schedule and supply showing that at the old price, more or less of the commodity will be supplied. A shift or change in supply is determined by factors affecting supply except the price of the commodity. 2 divisions of change in supply. 1. Increase in supply. When there is increase in supply, the supply curve will shift to the right, indicating that at the old price, more of the commodity will be supplied. An increase in supply is brought about by a favorable change in the factors affecting supply other than the price of the commodity. This is shown in the diagram. The supply curve shifted from S1 to S2 at the old price. The quantity of the commodity supplied increased from Q1 to Q2 units. 2. Decrease in supply. When there is a decrease in supply, the supply curve will shift to the left, indicating that at the old price, less of the commodity is being supplied. A decrease in supply is brought about by an unfavorable change in any of the factors affecting supply, except the price of the commodity. This is shown in the diagram. The supply curve shifted from S2 to S1, and the quantity of the commodity supply decreased from Q to Q1 units. Change in quantity supplied. A change in the quantity supplied of a commodity means a movement from one point to another on a supply curve. The cause of the change in quantity supplied is as a result of a change in the price of the commodity under consideration. The quantity of a commodity supply changes with price. More is supplied at a higher price than at a lower price. This is shown in the diagram. Two types of change in quantity supplied. 1. Increase in quantity supplied. There is an increase in quantity supplied if the quantity supplied increases as a result of an increase in the price of the commodity. This is also shown in the diagram. An increase in the price of the commodity from 80 to 116 brought about a corresponding increase. 2. Decrease in the quantity supplied. There is a decrease in the quantity supplied if the quantity of a commodity supply decreases as a result of decrease in price. This is also shown in the diagram. The price of the commodity from P1 to P2 brought about a corresponding decrease. Equilibrium of demand and supply. Equilibrium arises whenever demand equals supply at a particular price and at any point in time. Equilibrium is also a situation which occurs when there is a balance between quantity demanded and quantity supply. This is illustrated in the diagram. From the schedule, it can be observed that while demand moves in opposite direction with price, that is, the higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied. Equilibrium price. Equilibrium price is that price at which the quantity of goods demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. The price which equates demand and supply is equal to equilibrium price. The equilibrium price is that price which equates demand with supply. This is also shown in the diagram. The equilibrium price is 8 naira, where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. Thanks for listening. See you.